Hi, my name is Jackie Biebenroth. I'm principal and CEO at Muse. We're a branding and content marketing firm based in Cleveland, Ohio, and we specialize in brand refresh and then telling the stories that sell. So I've seen what happens when a founder has started a business around their values, their passion, their skill set, their personality style, and they've just achieved this level of success over time. But in essence, they're still at the center of the brand. And so, quite often, they want to refresh for various reasons. So maybe there's an acquisition and they want to exit, or maybe there's a succession and the second generation is coming up and they again want to exit. So, what they don't necessarily see yet is when they remove themselves from the center of the business, the brand doesn't necessarily fully represent the collective of the team. And so after maybe even during that transition or after the founder has left, there's this sense of emptiness. There's this lack of definition that's more felt than it is sort of stated. But it's like this listlessness. A lot of B2B companies, they're not transactional, they're transformational. And so they have long-term client relationships. They often measure customer lifetime value as one of their biggest metrics. And a lot of times those relationships, especially if they're long-term, the founder has been involved in some way or another. And so what's important is for the founder to be very decisive about the boundary between the business and their next step. So there's no like gray area there. Where there is tension in a rebrand is when the founder is like, okay, everybody knows he or she is leaving, but that they're still meddling. They're still like in the office, they're touching things, they're like reining things in, they're doing what they've always done, but the expectation is we rebranded now and you need to exit stage right, you know? So I think that that is really important for the founder to be very thoughtful about their exit. If they're going to do that in stages, fine. If they're going to be like acquired, I'm out, that's fine. Regardless, it's important to make that decision, set those boundaries, and communicate that with the team so that there's no lingering sense of, well, we own this new identity and it's our collective, but also our founder is in here creative directing it like it used to be, and it's not making any sense. It's just going to drive everybody crazy. A brand archetype from a founder-led business is also and very often aligned with the founder's personality. And in this case, the founder was an outlaw, just this rebel of a person, always doing things. He's like, screw the man kind of guy. And he built a reputation and a business around that. And he's been exiting, and his leadership team has been taking over. It's a service-based business. The leadership team has a service methodology that is aligned with a caretaker archetype. So those two things are in direct opposition, an outlaw versus a caretaker. And so the company had to make a strategic decision. They were not renaming. They were not necessarily changing their logo, but they were changing elements of how they showed up in the world and their own internal value set to be more aligned with the caretaker, because that is not only how the leadership team shows up for their teams, but it's how the team shows up for the clients. And a caretaker shows up in the world very different than an outlaw. And so the outlaw coming in and creative directing that brand was very disruptive. It's really better if you're going to exit, you should really just sort of step away from this brand and allow it to thrive in the way that it's designed to with this team, especially for the marketing team. Because, they're confused where they're trying to express the customer experience in the marketing, and yet there's an outlaw coming in trying to, make it um, like even the tone was more of like a sarcastic, bold, direct tone versus a caring, impassioned, supportive tone.